Happy Sunday. News of the day. I didn't have a chance to wear this for the preview of the review yesterday, so there's my Flames Heritage Classic for this year. And coming out of the Heritage Classic, I just want to start by saying that game in Regina was a huge hit. I have never been anti-Regina. I actually lived in Regina, Saskatchewan as a very, very, very young kid. And so it would be great to see Saskatchewan get, or as I used to call it when I was a kid, Saskatchewan. It would be great to see Saskatchewan get a hockey team. It's the matter of just the population and just the feeling that it's not big enough to work as an NHL location. That being said, I think Mosaic Stadium and the city of Regina showed yesterday that they will support this kind of thing, and I would hope that the NHL goes back again in the near future. So there you go. And Gary Bettman seemed to be very impressed with the stadium and with the city and just with things in general. And when Bettman's impressed, that's good news for the city of Regina. Now, per Elliot Friedman from last night on Hockey Night in Canada, the NHL is looking at a 6-team women's league. They are. And it's a matter of they're not going to start up a league. They're not going to operate it while the NWHL is operating. Now, of course, we have women's hockey players boycotting the league this year, which, of course, creates a lot of consternation among fans who never want to see women's hockey go anywhere, and it absolutely sucks, and who cares? But the thing is, if the NHL loses money on the league, which they would, it's a tax write-off. And not only that, but the amount of PR that you buy by supporting the women's game and by... So this is the thing. Yeah, the league will lose money, but from a public relations standpoint, it would be a win. So eventually that's the plan. It's just unusual because the NWHL has all these ladies saying they're not going to play. So now they've got these other women playing in place of the ones that are on strike, and it's a mess. The NHL is looking at that and going, yeah, we'll step in once this thing falls apart. The fact that they are looking at a 6-team league and they're talking about how they're going to make it work shows that they know it's not going to work. They know it's going to fall apart. But they don't want to be the ones that cause it, and they probably don't want to partner up with the people that are in charge of the league now. So there will be something that happens here again. Remember, public relations, they're looking for a win, and they don't care if they lose money. That doesn't bother them. They're not going to lose anywhere near the amount of money on a 6-team women's league as they lose on some of the teams that are currently in the league. And apparently, soon, according to Chris Johnson, the NHL, in their global series, during that trip overseas for their global series, we could see them addressing the NHL's future at the Olympics. Now, while there are people who want to see the NHL go back to the Olympics and people that don't, I'm on the fence. I don't really have a dog in the fight. It doesn't matter to me if the NHL goes to the Olympics or not. If they don't, that's fine. If they do, that's awesome too. I don't think that the NHL and its owners want to go, but apparently it's still a negotiating issue between the NHLPA and the NHL when it comes to the extending the CBA. The NHL wants to extend it, and the players are likely saying, okay, well, we'll agree to that, but we want to play in the next Olympics. So they have to sit down and talk to the IIHF. They have to work this out. The biggest problem they had really was the Olympic Committee this last time around, where it didn't make any financial sense for the NHL to go over on numerous fronts. So we'll see if that gets cleared up. Tom Kuhnhackle's out 4 to 6 weeks, so it looked ugly. Clearly a leg injury, and it was. Matt Martin also will miss 4 to 6 weeks for the New York Islanders, so that's going to test their depth. On the Buffalo front, Marco Scandella's out 2 to 3 weeks. Jimmy Vesey is also out week to week. But if you want good news as a Buffalo fan, Montour's getting closer to return. Bogosian, who knows with Zach Bogosian? Zach Bogosian apparently had some setbacks during the summer, and there's still no update on when he will be back. There is no firm date, and they likely don't know. He likely doesn't know either. So all the best to him and speedy recovery and all of that. Chicago is sending a message. They are making Brent Seabrook a healthy scratch tonight. Look, they've been trying to trade that contract for years. and they haven't had any takers. There were rumors that at the draft they offered their number 3 pick to Vancouver for Vancouver's number 10. All Vancouver had to do was agree to eat the contract of Brent Seabrook, and Vancouver said no. So that was the rumor at the time. That rumor still, seems to have something to it. And from a Vancouver front, yeah, you would not want to have that contract. Can you imagine with what they currently have on this team if you added Brent Seabrook's contract to that? Oh boy, people want to pounce on Benning now. You just add that contract and see what happens. So Seabrook being a healthy scratch, I do wonder how things are going to go, because that's not a contract that ends this year. Scott Lawton will miss 4 weeks with a broken finger. So he's out for a bit. It's going to be at least a month before he gets his first goal of the year. So, again, all of these injuries just test your depth. If your team suffers 1 or 2 injuries and they start to fall apart, your team's depth is lacking. Or it's just a matter of exactly the right person got hurt. Michael DiPietro currently has 3 wins with Utica. He has a 1.62 goals against average and a 940 save percentage. And people want me to talk about Utica and the good hot start Utica's got off to. Here's the thing. If I start talking about AHL, I'll be expected to talk about AHL a lot. I already talk a lot about hockey. You add in the AHL where you have 31 more teams and you have, 300 plus, 600 players. Like, it gets kind of crazy. And so I don't really discuss it. But yeah, Utica's been off to a good start, and Michael DiPietro could give Jim Benning a really interesting dilemma at the end of this season. Do you go with DiPietro and Demko next year, or do you not feel that DiPietro is going to be ready next year, and do you bring in somebody else for 1 year? And is DiPietro going to end up being better than Demko? So, some interesting issues and good issues to have as a franchise. You can't have too many good goaltenders. Bill Peters Flames fans, did you like the lines last night? Because if you did, Bill Peters did. So he plans to keep them together. Remember, this plan could be revised as soon as after the first period of their next game. Take it all with a grain of salt. He did like, though, how they worked together, and so he plans to kind of keep it that way for now. We'll see how that goes for them. Dermott may very well return on Tuesday for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Toronto, once they've got Dermott and Hyman back, they will have some lineup decisions to make, but they do need him. And interestingly enough, I believe they're 3-1 in the first half of back-to-backs, and they're 0-3-1 in the second half of back-to-backs. It is an issue that has definitely become a problem for Toronto, and they need to look at that. Now, whether it's conditioning or it's just losing focus or whatever it is. Also, the fact that Toronto keeps allowing the first goal in most of their games, that's problematic. And last but not least, Bobby Ryan's going to be a healthy scratch tonight for the Senators. Philip Chlapik draws into the lineup. Ryan, much like Seabrook, it's a contract they've tried to get rid of. Nobody's touched it, and Ryan, at this stage, the interesting thing is, he has 5 points in 9 games. 1 goal to go with those 5 points, which is not great, but it's not completely out of line with the way he's been scoring the last couple of years. It's just now we've got a coach that's saying, that's not going to get it done. So for Ryan, who has tried this year, the effort has definitely been there. He seems to be more physically engaged than I've seen him in recent years. And so hopefully this all gets straightened out for him. I don't dislike Bobby Ryan. I do think his contract's way too high. I still remember 2017 going into the expansion draft, and I did my own mock expansion draft, and I remember Senators fans saying, well, why didn't you take Bobby Ryan? And I'm like, you don't take Bobby Ryan. There's no way you take, nobody's going to take Bobby Ryan. And then Bobby Ryan himself being asked, are you worried about being taken in the expansion draft by Vegas? And he laughed it off because he knew his contract was bad. When a player himself is saying, my contract sucks, it's happened once or twice. When a player himself is basically saying, I'm paid and I'm not producing at the amount I'm paid to produce, so no, I'm not going to get taken in the expansion draft. He knows where he's at, and he knows what's up, and we'll see what happens with Bobby Ryan. He's not that old. he is, of course, from the same draft class as Sidney Crosby, and yeah, we'll see what happens. Can Ottawa find a taker for that contract as years come off of it, or is he stuck with the Senators for the rest of it? Does a retirement take place at some point? Yeah. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I've thought about doing a video on slow starters so far this year, but I haven't really touched that subject yet. Maybe I will over the next few days. There's only 2 games tomorrow, so there's a good amount of time tomorrow to drop a board or 2 on it. So let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happen upon this video. And hey, thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I'll talk to you again soon.